Hey guys, we're here with Jason Robbins, CEO of DraftKings. So there's some big news over the weekend. New York State's legislature passed a bill legalizing daily fantasy sports, right?
Yeah, the New York legislature passed it, and I think it was about 2:14 in the morning on Friday, Saturday.
And that was the last day they could have, right?
That was the last. It was down to the wire, and now we're hopeful that Governor Cuomo will sign the bill and it will become law.
So why is that such a big deal? Because it's just one state out of 50.
New York's a huge state. There's a lot of people here. It's a great sports town.
So the rest of the country's watching, states are watching. How will this set precedent moving forward?
Hard to know exactly how, but I do think it'll have an impact. More people were watching this than the otother 6 states that have passed. We've been very fortunate to see 6 other states pass great legislation this year, and I got lots of questions about them, but I got way more about New York. So a lot more people were, I think, paying attention, and that has to have some impact.
And I've heard there, so many people calling up their legislatures and even calling you guys maybe. Do you have any of those numbers of how many people reached out?
I know that there were hundreds of thousands of contacts made through either email, social media, telephone calls, messages, all of those things. That's really the difference. If you look at why this got done, and you want to point to one reason, it's always hard to point to one thing, but if you have to point to one thing, it's that. I was down in Albany. Yeah, the fans. I was down in Albany for much of the last couple of weeks, and I spoke to many legislators, and every single one of them said, I've never received so much of an outpouring for any issue. And there's a lot of, it's hard to imagine, it's fantasy sports. There's a lot of important issues out there that you would think would have more, but this was apparently the most that many of them had ever even seen.
And at the end of the day, like you said, it is fantasy sports. I mean, there are more pressing issues. But that being said, it's become this huge nationwide debate. So when you started this company, did you think it would morph into something like this, where the whole country is talking about daily fantasy sports?
Certainly not with the whole country. We wanted to build a big company. We always thought this could be a big multi-billion-dollar company. I've been a huge fantasy sports fan for almost my entire life. I grew up playing, so it was a passion project for me. And I never really thought about it in this context, that it would be such a national story and that there'd be so much attention on these things. But I knew that part of the process of building a big company might be that eventually regulators would take a look at it, and we wanted to make sure that we were ready to go as much as we could be, and had a very defensible plan for consumer protections, which is something the company and the industry has been working on. The laws that are being discussed here are so old, and the industry has reached a point where it does make sense, I think, for there to be some oversight and regulation. So that's the right place for this to be happening.
So what are some of the consumer protection stuff that New York has put into place and that you guys think is important for other states to adopt going forward?
I think certainly the most important thing is to make sure that people feel like there's an open and transparent environment, and there's a number of measures that accomplish that. Everything from making sure that people's funds are segregated into separate accounts so they're not commingled with operating funds, to designations that show which players are highly experienced. On the one hand, we have some people saying, hey, this is a game of chance, it should be illegal, and others saying, no, it's too skill-based, you have to level the playing field.
They're not winning enough.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say the game is too skill-based, but there are things that we could have done and that we are doing to make it more transparent for people, so that they feel like they know who they're playing against and they have a decent shot of competing. And those are all good things that are coming as part of this whole regulatory effort.
But how has what's been going on over the past year, legislatively and legally, been a distraction for you and the company to focus on the product? Has it been a distraction?
A little bit. I think that, certainly it's been a lot of media attention, and I think that has been a distraction. The whole regulatory process and implementing these things, those are things that were a necessary part of it.
Do you think the media has kind of blown it out of proportion?
I don't know if it's an interesting story, like you said, so I get why it's been covered. I just think it's something that we weren't used to. We were never used to getting that kind of attention before. And I think all the things that we're focusing on now are the same things that we would have been focused on, the things that we should focus on. But up until 7-8 months ago, not a lot of people actually cared about it.
So, if this was all wrapped up tomorrow, all 50 states, legalized daily fantasy sports, what's next? What do you focus on next?
Well, I think that, right now, our main focus is around continuing to expand our customer base, expanding into new international markets. We just launched in the UK about 4 months ago, and that's off to a fantastic start. And expanding our media and content business, building out, things that people can view and watch while they're playing and maybe have a little downtime, building out tools that help people making it more social. Those are all the areas that we're focused, and we have some really cool social features lined up for release this NFL season that I think are going to be very transformational in how people experience the product.